Throughout the county, the average rent for an apartment is a little more than $1,500 a month compared to last year's average of about $1,250 a month, says the latest San Diego County Apartment Association report. Joining me with what's pushing rental prices up are my guests, Executive Director of the SDCAA, Alan Pentico, and SDSU Real Estate Lecturer, Dana Kuhn. Now, Alan, the report found that countywide apartment rates have increased by about $250 since last year per month. So what are the average rental prices here?
Right now, it's about $974 for a studio, $1,301 for a one-bedroom, and about $1,600 for a two-bedroom.
Now, the rents have gone up, but at the same time, I understand from your report, vacancies have increased, and so have the number of newly built rentals. So this seems a little counterintuitive. So what's going on here?
One would think so, but what we're seeing is there's still a lot of pent-up demand. So you think about all those people who stay living with their parents and move back in with their parents or doubled up. They're now starting to re-enter the market. So we're starting to see rent growth that we haven't had in the last 5 years because of the recession, and new properties coming online, which is increasing the vacancy, but we still have a lot of people who are trying to get into rentals because they've been living with mom and dad.
Living with mom and dad during the recession. I see.
Yeah.
Now, Dina, how does it work that rent averages can increase so much over 1 year? Is this sort of an organic process, or is it the case where a developer says, oh, hey, I'm raising the price, and he can get that so everybody else follows suit?
There is no following anything except the market. There is no one project or one owner who can drive the market. There are many, many projects owned by more people than you can imagine, and there are no key owners or builders who can drive the market.
So what would you say? Would you agree with the same reasons as to why this has gone up by $250 a month?
Yes, I mean, the demand has been exceeding supply for years now. We have population growth of 35,000 a year, and at a 2.8 household size, that dictates 12,500 units every year. And we're building half that, multifamily and single family combined. So there is this shortfall of units.
How much, Dana, how many rental units would we need here in the region to slow this, the rental rate increases? Is there a percentage?
It has to basically double to keep up with the population dictated demand. There is somewhat perhaps an explanation for the dichotomy you referenced earlier, and that is if in the survey projects that are filling up are included, they may come in at 75% because they aren't full yet, but they will get full.
I see.
And so that could drive down the average if there are a whole bunch of new complexes being inserted into the data.
I see. And Ellen, at the same time all this is going on, local wage increases are not keeping up with the region's economic growth. So how much of the new developments are actually subsidized housing units?
There's a percentage, a small percentage. Most jurisdictions have a fee or a program where a developer can get incentivized to build more units if they include so many affordable or subsidized units, if you will. So it's a small percentage, not a whole lot. Biggest thing is when you talk about affordable, the best thing we could do for our region is just build more units. As Dana was saying, that we're way behind the demand. Birth rates alone, we're not even keeping with them, let alone people moving to the region.
I see. And Dana, I read in a recent UT article that the rental rates aren't at a level where it's hitting 50% of somebody's income. So is there wiggle room here? Can the rates still go up a little bit more?
Well, San Diego's ratio has always been higher than other places, and sometimes people call that the San Diego tax. You know, it's a price you pay for living here and enjoying this climate. But the idea that you can spend up to 50% of your income on housing is, I think, well, it's one that proved not to be true when the crash came. You know, people drove themselves to that level of housing as a percentage of their income, and that proved that unsustainable. So I don't think there is much room left. Something's going to have to change.
I see. And Ellen, how about predictions for the next 6 months here? Do you expect to see continued increases in rents here? And is there this tipping point? At what price level do we max out?
I think the ultimate price level is going to be dictated by two things: the supply and wages. If people can't afford to rent them, they're not going to rent them. So if the supply is there, it's not going to matter. But at the same time, having more supply come online will ease the pressures and I think keep it tethered. So we'll see. I mean, the thing that we said a year ago when we looked at this is all of this is tied to jobs. Our industry is completely tied to jobs. If someone doesn't have a wage, they can't pay a rent. So as much as we're seeing that we're having job growth, they're not strong jobs. They're not high-earning jobs. I think there was a Wall Street Journal article yesterday under the A-fold that said exactly that's the same thing we're experiencing across the nation. People who had jobs that made $18 an hour before the recession are doing the same thing for $9 or $10 now. So it's really those two factors that are going to drive it.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Alan Pentico and Dana Kuhn, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.